Hey everyone, Jordan here. So look, this is a little programming note that we're adding on to this episode because we actually recorded this, I don't know, weeks and weeks ago before we knew anybody was going to be listening to this show. So we thought we'd put on a little note here to just say, first of all, fucking thanks for listening. The response has been way more than I think any of us anticipated. And we're pretty fucking stoked about that. But in the end, it's not really that surprising because No Means No has always had a really passionate fan base. So we're stoked to give you guys something else to be excited about, hopefully. And hopefully you'll keep listening. If you do like the show, you like this episode coming up where we first start to kill your babies with the different songs to be sent into the graveyard, then spread it around. Tell other folks that you know who loves No Means No.
Kill your babies.
God, give us a review. Listen, I've heard this on every podcast I've ever listened to. They say, oh, give us a review, rate us. And I'm always like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I never do. So I don't blame you if you don't, but it really does help us. It helps the podcast spread around, get in front of more eyes. And frankly, that's not about us. To me anyway, it's about getting the band more exposure, right? Getting this out in front of more fans who maybe aren't on the Facebook group. Exactly. Or wherever else they're hearing about it.
Absolutely.
So this podcast is your podcast in a way, right? All of you fans. We're doing it for you because we are you.
The people's choice.
We're super fans. Exactly. The people's choice. But really,
it's
just
a Coke commercial. We'd like to teach the world to sing.
It's really great to get all your feedback, and especially when it's people, because I think Jordan and I at least have listened to a lot of podcasts in the past. So when we hear that, this is the first time you've listened to a podcast, that's cool on its own. And it's very difficult not to dig into the metrics and look at the cool little color-coded map and see how many countries we've been downloaded in, which is
39 countries.
It's 31, I think.
31. Okay.
31. There are some unknowns. So, San Tome in Principe and Equatorial Guinea just don't really show up. But Vietnam did. That was not expected. I have a friend in Arkansas, and I can bug him because I can look at it and say, hey, there's no downloads in Arkansas.
Today. No, you were not in class today.
Yeah. So all that to say, fucking thank you. And we hope you keep listening and continue to reach out to us. We love it. We love to hear more about it. I'm sure you'll have a lot to say about the choices we make in the upcoming episodes, about what we're pushing through. A lot of you have reached out. Some of you are willing to come on the show. We're planning to do interviews at some point. All of that, stay tuned because all of that's growing as the podcast grows. But super grateful for you guys. And anyway, I think we've probably said enough about that. So
I was going to say that because I like how the thing is broken down, I'm very excited to see Australia, New South Wales. Cool. Victoria.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that we have 2 listeners in Tasmania just makes me really excited.
Very excited.
Hello, Tasmanians.
No kidding.
I did forget that actually the most important point was one of the main reasons I even wanted to say this without, just all the effusive praise. We're releasing this episode you're hearing now early. We're planning on being an every other week podcast. We've got busy lives. It's probably about all we'll be able to do, but we have some in the can. And the response was so excellent and took us off guard that we figured, hey man, let's get some more episodes out to you guys quick.
Well,
so
we want to get the hook into you deep.
That's
First
right.
one's free, man. First one's free.
First one's always free. And then we might release another one early next week. We'll see. You can let us know if you want us to, right? Give us some feedback on that front. But in any event, I think you've heard enough of us jawing. This is already a 4-minute intro.
Oh, wait.
Hit us back on all the social medias and social plagues and all that kind of shit.
All that crap.
I have some things to say.
Uh-oh.
I have 3 things to say.
Here we go.
Number 1, and most important, you all will hear a terrible thing that I said on a podcast. I said the wrong term. And it's been keeping me up at night.
It has literally been keeping her up at night.
Yes, with some Guinness. And I said trichord instead of tritone. So I don't want any bullshit. I know. I don't want any bullshit. I meant tritone. That is a musical term. That is trichord, but it means something completely different. So I don't want any music theory geeks.
Honestly, I'm glad you said something. I'm so glad you said something because that was about to be it for the podcast for me.
Exactly. Thank fucking God, man. At least you're a little self-aware. makes up for it.
I am. And the other thing I want to mention is I got I name dropped somebody on one of our episodes, or it was the second one we released, the one where we told everybody how we heard about them, and I name dropped the guy. Got a hold of him in the meantime recently, told him about this podcast. He like shits his pants, puts it up on his page, and one of his friends was pissed that I didn't mention the band he was in at the time. All right. So goddamn Dave Reynolds of Squid. All right, buddy.
There we go. You got your 15 minutes of fame,
you.
Dave Reynolds.
Dave Reynolds of Squid.
Squid.
Right.
All right, everybody. You've listened to us jam around long enough. Next episode that you're hearing coming into your ears is all about the music. So enjoy, and can't wait to hear from you. Hello, welcome to No Means No Thing, podcast dedicated to that impossible task, determining the best No Means No song of all time. I'm Jordan. I'm joined in this continuing fool's errand by my two co-hosts.
Matthew.
Michelle. Oh, sorry. Did I?
Of course we did.
One at a time.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
I'm Matthew.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. I'm Michelle.
All right.
All right,
not a lady.
I think we've got the idea now. So after that very smooth and elegant introduction, we get to talk about music, guys. We actually finally get to talk about some songs. So we've got 4 songs to talk about this week. And as we talked about in the last episode, these were random pulls out of the catalog as we saw fit to, as Matthew mostly saw fit and with discussions to arrange it. And they're strange. So our first pair up is going to be 2 songs of the post-Andy era. We've got My Politics, which is off Worldhood of the World. That was released in 1995. And we've got Youth, which was off of the LP of Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie and wasn't released onto the CD version of this until Southern re-released it in, I think, 2007, 2010, something like that. So unless you had the LP or had friends that could get you copies early on in 98, these songs weren't even known by every No Means No fan. I was lucky enough to hear it at that point, I think. But so this is our first pairing. And then we'll talk about the second pairing once we get through this one. But we're going to each kind of take a run at talking about each of these songs. And then we'll see which one we push through and see if any minds get changed. But before we do that, I have a question. I don't want either of you to actually answer, but I want you to answer in either the affirmative or the negative. Do both of you have in mind on your own what the best song will be at the end of this run? Without telling me what it is. Do you have any idea of what your favorite, what your favorite No Means No song is of all time?
I know what mine is.
Good.
I'm not sure.
How about you, Matthew?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure how the pairings will go, and I don't know whether we're gonna get through all of them or whether every song is gonna end up. We didn't actually count them. How many songs are there? How long it's gonna take to do all of the pairings? So it really.
But outside of pairings,
yeah.
Do you have a favorite No Means No song of all time?
Yeah, I'd say I probably do.
All right, good. So keep it in your mental box in that fake virtual envelope, and we'll see at the end. If any one of our favorites comes out the other side. All right, so let's. Yeah, no, exactly. So let's dive right into it. We're gonna talk about my politics, and right now is where I am in the future inserting a clip that you guys can hear of the song. And then I'm going to go ahead and start talking about it.
To tell the truth, you can all get screwed. I'd like to give you a kick, you little son of a bitch. Just let me get my hands around your throat, and I will choke it. Put This is it. My politics. This is it. I love to hate. That's fucking great. This is it.
So, let me pull up my notes here because I've taken notes, guys. My politics. So this song, this album, this is the first post Andy. No, that's not true. Mr. Happy was. This is the first Tom Halston album, right? Worldhood, and I really love that album. It's not the one I always put at the top of my list necessarily, but this song's really interesting. It's to me, it's a kind of weirdly succinct statement of that part of their music that can seem really misanthropic. It's this sort of great, deep acknowledgement of the, sort of inherent violence of the human experience. And you kind of hear that thread through a lot of No Means No songs. And this is a real succinct statement of that. Sometimes almost a little bit too succinct, not succinct. That's a great word. Succinct. And I don't know, I feel like it's kind of in the mode of really describing the basic ground of the pain of just being a human being. While it's really always a mistake to try to ground No Means No songs in anything sort of topical, considering especially how old this was, outside of just politics being weird, it really feels sort of salient to the fucking moment of everything sort of breaking down and distrust and hatred of the other side being really prevalent and seems to be, I won't say prescient because what they're talking about is just human nature, but really incisive and dark and fucking super gritty. It's also just hella punk. I mean, especially considering what we're putting it up against. I really like it. I think this is one of the songs on that album that has always really gotten to me, especially the fact that it's got these two halves, right? This first half, which is really driving, and it's got that Rob just fucking, he's belting it out in his most cynical, misanthropic growl. And then you get this great fucking disco break, and the whole song sort of changes, and it's broken up into these two halves. And that second half for me is absolutely essential, No Means No, and phenomenal. And I think it has I'll end with what I think is one of my favorite lyrics in this song that is sort of a synthesis of their misanthropic strain, which is, what is the bitter explanation for the violence of my indignation? Well, it's as plain as the nose on my face. I'm a member of the human race, right? Just, yeah, it's fucking the nature of being a human being is violence, anger, and hatred, or at least part of the nature of being a human being.
Fear, anger, betrayal, and hatred.
Yes, exactly. And just the honesty and just sincerity with which Rob can sing such brutality is kind of unmatched. I don't know. I mean, you keep your death metal growl for all I'm concerned. This guy gets across more in the tone of his voice and the way he puts those lyrics across than anyone I've ever heard. All right, so that's what I want to say about this song. So, Matthew, why don't you give us your thoughts?
Okay. For me, I think it was kind of almost a relief because, I mean, I love Mr. Happy, but at the time, after Andy left the band, Mr. Happy was all Rob all the time. And I feel like maybe there was a bit more of a mitigating influence, even if that was a total Rob. He didn't have to do everything, and maybe this is a bit of a return to form, or a little bit. This particular song reminds me a little bit more of stuff off of 0 + 2 = 1, but then with the extreme Robness of Mr. Happy. And I didn't really think as much about the subject matter as I did about the song itself. And I don't have, I'm a drummer, but I don't really have a lot of musical terminology, so I can't really talk about song parts as much as Michelle probably can. I like the contrast. I mean, it's knits together so many different styles, like some really, really driving parts. And then, the sort of dancey bit in the middle that so you sort of shows up on 0 + 2 = 1 a little bit more, and it's even got that dub section. And while you sort of expect dub and ska to be a little more happy, I don't know, it's still dark. So I really like that contrast. I really like the drumming in this song. I mean, this more than many others, I think it just gives John the opportunity to show how many different styles he can play. And I like Rob's voice in this because he's got this incredible like growl. And I think this must have been right around when he had problems with his vocal cords, because there's some really strange stuff going on. And then he's got of course his talk singing action, which is always the storyteller. I think the German word is Sprechgesang, talk singing. So that's interesting too.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Fred Schneider's known for that.
Yeah, that's right.
Or
From
the B-52s, yeah.
Yeah. Which B-52s is a much darker band than they're given credit for. Like. Anyway, don't want to get off on that. Yeah, then there's like that wah-wah air check section and just so much humor mixed in with the darkness. So this is really a pretty quintessential No Means No song.
Yeah.
And it really is of the time and from the album that it's on. So yeah, that's about all I want to say about that.
How about you, Michelle?
Oh wow, this is cool. This album was the first time I saw No Means No in New York with Alice Donut, and I've got the flyer for it in the other room.
Nice.
Oh my God, that was, if I could go back to that day, I would do it in a heartbeat, because that was just the most epic period of my life personally. And to open up the Village Voice and see that No Means No was coming to Tramps was just like, oh my God, I'm finally going to see him. I'm going to, I've only seen him in pictures, and that's when the internet came out. And yeah, this was in 1995. So this song, I might be a little bit different in thought from you guys, because I don't listen so much to lyrics. I listen to music. So this song, I do like aspects of it. My favorite part of it definitely is the chorus. The "This Is It" part. Rob's out of his mind, and he sounds like he's he's rabid. I love it. I would love to look in the sound booth and see him just barking this out. It would just kill me. And as far as the little disco interlude, guys, I don't know, man. It was kind of embarrassing. I don't know. It didn't do much for me. It was just kind of, what the fuck? Okay, Tom, have at it. Use your fix pedals if you want to, and it's an upbeat song, and once in a while when I do kind of hone in on the lyrics, which I really, really should do more often. I mean, shame on me. I know that's half or more than half of a song. I'm just out of practice of it, really. But if you're going to talk about what you believe in and what you think is right, and he's certainly belting it out and letting everybody knows how he feels. So I don't know if I personally would mark this as a quintessential, did I say that word right? No Means No song, but it's definitely a Rob party, and it's great. It does justice for him and all of his feelings and whatnot. I don't know, I'm not describing it right, but the disco interlude, I'm gonna do a thumbs down on that guy. It was just too I don't know, it's like the dating game or something. I don't know. But I do love Rob's voice in that and how he's just laying it down. I think it's phenomenal. And the ending, isn't that just is there a "Oh My Leg" at the ending? Because that's
no, that's
I don't know.
something else. But yeah, but
I don't know.
It's fucking great.
I always look for the "Oh My Leg," so I whenever that comes up, that song will get my vote, because that kills me. But I do like that song. It's cool. It's not one of my favorites, but it's cool. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah,
nice.
I might like it as much because I know when it's ending, it's that it's leading into Lost.
Oh yeah.
I before we move on for the song, musically, one of the things I love about the song is it seems to start mid anthem. Like I just love the way that the song starts, like it's the middle,
Yeah.
like peak of another song.
And
It just
another
starts
thing. Yeah.
full fucking force, no
Yeah.
lead up, no crescendo. It's just
Yeah.
high crescendo just to start
Yeah.
off with,
Yeah.
which I just fucking love.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go into this. The second, its competitor, and that's Youth, which is off of Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie. It's towards the end, song 11, I think. All right, so we'll hear a little bit of clip from that.
The hawkers sing, the aromatic spice and copper rings. Dice are thrown and rattling fall at the beat of the soldiers on an ancient wall. And the bones of those who climbed and died lie gleaming in the sand on the other side. See all of them. See all of them. See all of them. See all of them. See all of them dream. See all of them dream. See all of them dream. See all of them.
And now I'm going to talk about it. So, man, could not be a bigger contrast, sort of. This song is, I mean, there are other songs like this that that No Means No's done. I love this song. Absolutely adore it. I was just talking to my son downstairs trying to see which of these he'd put through, and he, without hesitation, was like, oh, Youth, without question. Are you kidding me? Forget it. And I don't know that I agree. We'll see about that. But I love the bass line on this. I love how the storytelling in this and how fucking mythical it is. I mean, this is Rob doing Homer's Odyssey, basically, in a pop prog punk song. It's beautiful. The way the lyrics start from this really archetypical, mythical city of youth that is all of us, and all of this imagery that he uses to paint that picture in this really kind of using these ancient, archaic, yet really, I keep using the word archetypal, but they are these symbols, and then slowly leads out this youthful hero on a journey across the sea until he confronts the king and, ends up in death, right? He paints the entire picture. And then these beautiful little interstitials of the lyrics of See All of Them Dream, and how his vocal quality, the musical quality, and the way it changes the entire song is just these beautiful interstitials that point to that other current in life. It's one of those songs that can seem kind of fruity and basic on the top, but it's really, I like it when Rob gets really, lyrically, when he gets this symbolical and tells stories like this, and isn't following sort of that typical strain, that typical sort of dark No Means No strain. I find actually there was more of that later in those like tour EPs, especially lyrically. It kind of reminded me of that, but I really love this song. I think it's the shits. All right. How about you, Matthew?
It's not one I really got to know well because of what you described earlier. I got the CD. I only had access to the LP at the CFUV, the radio station where I was doing a show. So I didn't get to know it very well. And I didn't sort of have access to it until I actually bought the re-release. And of course, I bought the re-release as much for the corrected cover art, because the original release of Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie had the wrong panel, or the not intended panel as the cover, and the cover was on the back. So I actually have both copies, both CDs. Not that I ever listen to CDs anymore. But yeah, I never really got to know this song, and it doesn't, because it's so major chordy. It doesn't feel as No Means Snowy as I like. It doesn't really fit in on the album for me. and it feels a little unfinished to me. Like it could have been maybe tightened up a little bit. And Rob tells great stories, but I think I connect more with. Actually, I was going to mention in My Politics, where we're going to talk about Disappear later, where he's actually sort of telling a story and kind of inhabiting a character.
Yeah,
where you can almost
sure.
see that it's part of him that he's talking about. Whereas Youth, it's like he's an observer, and it's a little less familiar to me somehow. Kind of just feels like a bit of a B-side for me. And in terms of the imagery, I mean, it's really rich and everything like that. But there's actually a song by another band who are huge No Means No fans called The Darkest of the Hillside Thickets. And on their most recent album, there's a song called The Island. And actually, there's a lot of crossover in my head, the mental imagery between Youth and The Island. And The Island is much darker and scarier and kind of what I would have maybe wanted from a No Means No song. So maybe I'll link you guys to that song later just to see what you think, because it's definitely an homage to No Means No.
Nice. All right, how about you, Michelle?
Oh, very cool. I'm definitely with Matthew on his feelings about it. For me, it's just a little too upbeat. And again, I got to apologize. I might get booted from this podcast, but I just don't listen to lyrics that much, man.
It's all right, man.
Well, I don't know, but I understand and I hear what he's talking about. I'm just not listening. That's a shitty thing to say, but again, I'm just focused on the music. It's upbeat, and it just feels like you're on a horsey ride, and it's just, I don't know. It's sincere and sweet, but it's not the No Means No that I think of when I say that name. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's something I don't have a lot. I sound like Robin Gibb on the Barry Gibb talk show right now. I don't know if you know about that skit, that Saturday Night Live skit where they ask him if he's got anything to say. No, I guess I should stop there. I'm just digging myself in deeper.
It sort of feels like we've got an easy vote ahead of us here, really.
We've got a what?
An easy vote ahead of us here on this one.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
One thing which I noticed, wrote in my little notes here, is you don't hear a lot of ska influence on No Means No songs. There's a few, but both of those songs have like a ska dub thing going on at some point, which is an interesting thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you pull any random No Means No song, it's interesting. It chose two that had that element in them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So let's get this out of the way. Let's do the vote here. For me, this is not actually that tough of a choice. So I like Youth, but like you guys, like it doesn't hit me in the guts like the best of the No Means No songs do for me. It's not one that I seek out all the time. I enjoy it well enough, but I would absolutely agree with what you guys have said. And while My Politics also isn't necessarily the top of my list if I were putting together lists, it's certainly more quintessential, as we've thrown that word around. It contains a real essence that Youth doesn't. So for me, for sure, My Politics goes through. How about you, Matthew?
Yeah, I think I got to give it to My Politics. Youth, I just I don't know whether it was the time or the song or just kind of never connected with it. And it's certainly My Politics, I wouldn't say it's in my top 10, but Youth is even further away from the top 10.
and Michelle, so it's already My Politics going through, but what's your vote?
Well, I think I'll third that. I would really pick My Politics for sure.
We're unanimous. All right. Well, the first vote's in, everybody. We're unanimous. Yep. Fantastic. Even with the disco break.
That's right.
All right. Well, it's time to introduce our next pairing. And these songs are Disappear, another off of Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie. And then Baldwang Must Die, which when I first ran this seed and I saw that come up, it was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that song's going to be in there. And we'll talk about it in a little bit. I'll let Matthew talk about it more, but there was even some talk about, should this even be here? Isn't this like infamous scientists or show business giants?
I kind of brought that up with you when it came up, and you're right. It is a canonical No Means No release.
It is one down. So I didn't even talk about what it's on. Yeah. It's on One Down, Two to Go.
It's One Down, Two to Go. And, there's a Swell Prod song on that album, and there's a Hanson Brothers song on that album. But Baldwang Must Die is attributed to No Means No on that, or it isn't attributed to anyone else anyway.
Anyone else. Right. That's right.
So we decided to count it. And because it is, it's a very interesting place to start for our first.
It is
like music discussion show.
Yep, it is. And fortunately for me, Michelle gets to be the first one to talk about these pairings. So, Michelle,
do
you want to?
That it's me.
Because I have to start talking about Baldwang first. So, you get to start talking about Disappear. Why don't you tell us what you think of that one?
Well, first of all, I do that.
Before you do it, we're going to play a little clip for everybody of Disappear.
I'm just trying to disappear, 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 disappear. Nobody went for a walk in the rain. I laid on my boots and my walking cane. The cane they found hanging from a tree, but those boots will never walk back to me. No, no. He's not far off, but he's nowhere near. That's obvious, but it's not very clear. Nobody talks, nobody hears. He said, I'm just trying to disappear, 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 disappear.
Hit it.
Okay, me hit it? Okay. Also, I want to know if you're going to put in like some Family Feud, like ding dings and because I think that'd be funny.
Yeah, probably.
Price is Right. We could find a good yay and nay sound, game show sound. Okay, so Baldwang, I like it because
Nope. Hold on. We'll start with Disappear first.
Huh?
Disappear is the first song we're talking about.
Oh, we're talking about Disappear.
Yeah, and then Baldwang.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. The Disappear. It's another upbeat one that just is not wet lettuce. Really, I hate saying it about them, but I and when I hear this, I do tend to focus more on John because the guitar and the bass are just kind of playing a simple song, and as I just, my ear just goes to John to listen if he's doing anything crazy. And I think I should stop there. This is terrible. I'm not.
That's all right. So
no,
it's good. It's dead. So I'll pick up from you, and we're finding these songs that you're not connecting with in the beginning. They're going to be there, right? We just happen to randomly find the random number generated gods found the songs that don't hit you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can understand that because musically, this is super fucking straightforward. This song, there's really not a lot in there that is. I mean, No Means No is incredibly heroic musically, usually, and in many instances. And this is one of those songs that's not. And frankly, I've bounced off this song many times. When it was first, there's a few songs on this album that, especially in the early days of me listening to it, were skips for me. I'd be like, yeah, I like it all right, but man, skip it. This was definitely one of those. But there was a point where I really said, okay, I can't do that to No Means No song. It's not fair, where I'd stop and really listen to it. And it really fucking got under my skin. And it's because, Matthew, what you talked about before, this is a story that Rob tells really fucking well. And he really gets into this character, and it is really fucking intriguing. This is a story, and this is totally wrong. It's my take, but this is that human being who wants to just fucking disappear from the world, and in the end, he hangs himself. He's done. And I think it ends with the guy hanging himself from a tree, right? That's very literal interpretation, but the way that Rob puts those lyrics of, the boots they found hanging from a tree and the cane they found hanging from a tree, and those boots will never walk home or walk back to me. Huh. Everything's leading up to this character taking the way out, taking himself out. And the way that it leads to that, the way that it leads to this, the joy of someone who wants to leave the world in their in how fucking sick of it they are, in an almost like this joy of what it is going to be to just get the fuck away from everything, is intensely dark. But the way he sings it is so joyous. It's that sort of dichotomy that Rob's one of the only people I've ever known who can communicate both of those things simultaneously at the same time. And the story he tells and the ways he tells it, I think it wouldn't work were it put to one of their more musically heroic songs. I think it works because it's a more straightforward sort of rhythm and blues straight shot. So in this case, I think that's not a cop out on their part. It feels really intentional, and I really like it
now. No, I'm serious. You've like switched it around for me, where I think I need to give it another chance and just see the irony in it. You know, maybe I'm being a jerk about it. Well,
maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Well, no, I kind of want to have another listen.
What about you, Matthew? What do you think of this song?
Well, this album came out, was it 98?
Yeah, 98.
So, yeah, not a good time in my life, and I had kind of lost interest in a lot of the music. My musical tastes were changing. So, Oh No Means No album. So I wasn't as excited as I might have been, and so it took a while. It took a while to come back to this album, and I agree with what you guys say. It is straightforward. It's pretty much just a blues song. I do like the fact that there's some, playfulness, and there's some piano in it at one point.
Right.
I think I might have been more into the music if the song were a little shorter, because it is a bit repetitive. But then, again, back before the internet and everything like that, and how easy things music became to get. It's right around then that this album came out. I used to obsessively pore over No Means No songs, and I never did that with this album in terms of getting to know the lyrics and everything. So in kind of reacquainting myself with this a little more intimately, reading the lyrics, I like the song better. And it's got sort of, again, like you said, the inhabiting a character, and I hadn't really thought about the suicide angle, because it is so joyous. It's somebody who gets what they want, and that maybe there can be joy in an end, or it's he's not far off, but he's nowhere near. Doesn't mean he isn't somewhere. So yeah, I kind of like it. I did like the fact that there's that sort of in joke echo. There is an leg in this song, so that sort of ticks a box for me. And then of course the sort of polarity and opposites that Rob plays with so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a favorite, but certainly climbed out from where it started for me.
Nice. Well, let's move on to this exceptionally weird song, Baldwang Must Die. Here's a little clip of that. All right, Michelle, lead us in. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I like it because it's weird, and it was so weird where I paid very much attention to it, just because obviously there weren't a lot of lyrics in it, but I don't know, it gave me the creeps a little bit, and I like it when music does that to me, and this echoey kind of thing, and the high pitched voices. It's cool. So I like it for its historical aspect. And what did you say that was from? Was that an Infamous Scientist song? See, I don't even think I knew that.
I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown.
Yeah, Matthew will give us
I'm
the breakdown
excited
when
to
he
hear
does.
this because I always thought it was weird, but it was a nice little thing to put in between two of their songs to be like, now let's hear a word from our sponsors, and it's like, what the hell? So I appreciated it. I appreciated it for what it was because it was weird, and I'm pretty excited to hear about the story behind it. So
Yeah, me too. I won't say much about it because I don't have much to say about it. So I like it. I think I enjoy it as a curiosity. I think it's really well engineered and it's really fun to just listen to because it's got a lot of layers to it. But it's an interstitial to me. It's something that comes between something else on its own. It doesn't have any life for me on its own. So yeah, I don't have a ton to say about it because it just doesn't speak to me. Although I think it's fucking hilarious and I think it's really well put together. It's just, I look around inside and it doesn't resonate with anything, right? I don't have any parts that go like, oh yeah, what's that? Nothing. It's just something I can go like, yeah, that's one of those crazy fucking things those kids did way back then. Look at that. But other than that, yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it. I'm looking forward to hear what Matthew has to say about it.
Yeah, I was surprised when it came up because it's technically a cover because the Infamous Scientist did it first. And then it was on two different, I can't remember whether there was two different versions, but it's on two separate Showbiz Giants releases. And then on, that No Strange No Means No album that is basically No Means No Sausage. It's just all the odds and sods. So it is a Victoria in-joke, that's for sure. And in a typical Victoria fashion, the more you try to learn about it, the more lies you will receive. So it's kind of diminishing returns because you probe into it and you just get, I've even muddied the waters about this one on my own. And it's known that when you ask Andy, he basically says something like, it's just a guy I know. So I asked Andy, I'm like, I'm not asking about the story. I don't really want to know. And I don't think that you're going to tell me anyway. So I kind of wanted to understand how it came up, where it came up, why it came up. And he said a few things which were cryptic. I do think Baldwang was a person, but I liked something that somebody said about it, that it really just needs to borrow that little from any sort of folklore song, traditional arrangement. Like, trad R, it needs that after it in any song system. In some discussion, it seems that Victoria bands would just kind of do it. Oh, let's do Baldwang Must Die at the end of our set. So I heard it. Pink Steel did it. Red Tide apparently did it. And that Red Tide doing it kind of resonated with me a little bit because, of course, Ken Jensen, who was a member of DOA, and he was actually the first Kenny Hansen. Wasn't their first drummer, but he was the first Kenny Hansen, the first drummer of the Hansen brothers once John started singing. Ken tragically passed away in 1995 in a house fire. So I don't know. I guess Baldwin Must Die. It's got so much history that I don't know and will never know. Means different things to different people. One thing that Andy did say is that it was written by him and Kev Lee from the Infamous Scientist, and he considered it like their only hardcore song. And the way it's played was the way that they amplified it and everything like that was on Rob's advice. So I almost see it like as a seed of No Means No. I think No Means No existed in some form at the time, but the With Andy version,
Wow.
It may have grown a little bit from that. But and the funny thing is that there's going to be people from Victoria listening to this, and they're all going to be, oh, this guy's full of shit.
And they might be right.
He wasn't there, but I was there. You were there, and everybody else was there. And Baldwang is all things to all people, and he must die.
And he must die.
Oh wow!
Fuck, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right, well, I guess we got to vote, folks. I have no idea where this is going. So, Michelle, where are you at with this?
Hands down, mofos. Baldwang. Yes. Eat it, Jordan.
All right, we're gonna have our
that's
first
it.
split then, and Matthew's gonna be the tiebreaker because for me, it's like absolutely
Matt,
no
come on.
way could it be Baldwin. No, it's got to be Disappear. You got a tiebreaker, Matthew. This is nice. The way to end our first episode, the suspense.
You know, I think because it's difficult to weigh Baldwang because it is a song in its own right, but the No Means No version kind of more isn't. So it's more what it means than what it is. That why I think I got to give it to Baldwang too, but just barely.
But Baldwin must die. God damn it!
No,
Fucking listen to the song.
Well, in this case, I think Baldwang lives.
Oh, episode title. We found the episode title. Shit. Well, all right. That's the majority wins, everybody.
Jordan.
Oh, something that came up that was kind of interesting as I was like rummaging around just to see. I did go back. I tried to listen to all the different versions of Baldwin Must Die, and I discovered that it is actually, and the release it is on, is actually in the British Columbia archives.
Oh, shit. That's amazing.
And
all right, well,
didn't find any.
I want to hear these other ones, man.
Nice. Well, fuck. All right. So we've got My Politics and Baldwin Must Die going through to the second seed, which who knows when we'll ever get to comparing our second seed songs. But there they are sitting out there in the ether. And we'll find another 4 songs to pit against each other next week. Yeah, that was a weird quartet of songs. I'm nervous about what's going to come up next, but sort of excited to see. Any last words, folks?
I'm nervous about the shit I'm going to catch for talking shit.
You want to you got any social media, Twitter handles you can let out there just to let people fucking unload on you? No one knows your last name, so no one will know.
I know people know who I am, but
I know.
We're gonna know who we are now. That's fascinating, though. That's a cool story. How can you not?
It's a really cool story. It's a really cool story.
How can you not vote for that?
Great.
It's history, man.
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's pretty fucking great.
Fun.
All right. Well, we've taken up 40 minutes of our listeners' precious time. We got through 4 songs. We'll be back, who the fuck knows when, to tackle 4 more. And until then, just really fucking make sure you do not listen to what Slade says. All right. Goodbye, everybody.